Hello, lovely listeners, and welcome to What the Pause. This is going to be a special two-parter in terms of my perimenopause countdown. What does that entail? It entails the most common questions that we would pose to our doctors. And this also is derived from all the Facebook posts, Instagram posts, thread posts I've been seeing, and women over 40 asking the same questions. So I thought I would just go ahead and combine everything, all the questions, all the popular questions rather, that received a lot of traction over the past year. But specifically, part one is going to be, and I've done this before in terms of talking about it from a very holistic and experiential standpoint, which is why your doctor knows nothing about perimenopause. Well, we're going to change that up a bit for today, and we're going to talk about what doctors don't tell you about perimenopause. So here is my countdown, but let me start with a question. You've gone to a doctor with a list, right? You know, symptoms, notes, dates, receipts, timelines. And you walked out thinking, well, that was a colossal waste of time. Yeah, because perimenopause is the one life phase where you show up with real symptoms, but we leave with your labs are normal. Oh, you're too young to be in perimenopause. Have you tried reducing your stress? Sir or madam, I am the stress. So why we're doing this? Not because doctors are evil, not because they don't care about us during this time, but as we know, it's coming to the forefront that women's bodies were never the priority in medical training. And I know of quite a few doctors who were interns who have said the same thing to me. So let's count this shit down. All right. So let's see. Let's start with number 10. The doctor says, your labs are normal. It doesn't necessarily mean you're fine. And this one always deserves a standing ovation because all the doctors love to say that your labs are normal, nothing's wrong with you. However, we know that the hormones fluctuate daily in perimenopause. So pulling out just one blood test and declaring you normal, quote unquote, is like checking the weather once and deciding the climate forever. Because normal labs does not equate to a normal lived experience. Your symptoms matter, your patterns matter, and you matter. So just because they say your one blood test is normal does not mean that you're not in perimenopause. Number 9. You can be in perimenopause even if you're too young. And what does doctors love to say? If you're in your late 30s or early 40s, doctors love to say, you're too young for that. No, because as we are finding out with the research, perimenopause can start 8 to 10 years before menopause. So age denial delays care. And when we gaslight people, they suffer much longer. So at this point, let's move on to number 8, which is anxiety and depression can be hormonal, but not psychological. I'll say that again. Anxiety and depression can be hormonal, not psychological. And this one's huge. So instead of asking from the doctor, what's happening hormonally, just like my doctor did back in 2014, many doctors jump straight to, here's an antidepressant. Sometimes medications help, sometimes they don't. But when you ignore hormones entirely, that's what I like to call lazy medicine. Because you're not weak, you're not broken. Your brain chemistry is being yanked around by estrogen. So had I known back when I was 43 years old and going to my doctor with all these symptoms of perimenopause, I was given Cymbalta. Yep, let's put that Band-Aid on it. And that was 2014. And I really didn't get into perimenopause till I was 45, but I didn't know what it was until I was 50. So Lots of information has been come to the forefront, and lots of people like me who are very passionate about educating women in their late 30s, over 40s, over 50s, all the way into postmenopause. This is why I do what I do. All right, but back to the countdown. I almost feel like Casey Kasem. And if you know who Casey Kasem is, then you're my girl or boy. All right, so number 7, birth control can mask perimenopause symptoms. Because you might be told, the pill regulates everything. But what it often does instead is cover the smoke while the fire keeps burning. Again, another Band-Aid. Birth control can hide symptoms until it suddenly doesn't, and then everything hits you all at once. Number 6. Okay, doctor, weight gain is not all about willpower. Doctors love to say, eat less, move more. Ooh, so groundbreaking, right? What they often skip is the fact that we are going through insulin sensitivity changes. We're not reacting to sugars as we used to before. We have muscle loss that's coming fast and furious. And finally, we also have cortisol dominance. Your body isn't resisting you. It's adapting without instructions, right? When some of us listening had kids, did they have an instruction manual for us? Absolutely not. This is why parenting is the hardest job in the world. But being a woman, I think, is the hardest job in the world, especially going through this phase of our lives. Number 5, brain fog is real. And no, it is not early dementia. There are too many people quietly panicking about this. We have memory lapses, word loss. We walk into a room, we don't know why we're in there. We have mental blank screens. Because estrogen also supports cognition. So when it fluctuates, your brain feels very unreliable. And that's terrifying. And it's rarely explained. So when we're going through this brain fog and we think we're going crazy, people are telling us we're going crazy. It is not. Okay? You don't need to be terrified. You need to know that that this brain fog is real. And it's all to do with estrogen. Number 4, sex should not hurt at any age. If you've ever been told, oh, sexual intercourse is going to hurt because it's aging, excuse me, that's a hard, bloody stop. No, thank you very much. Painful sex, dryness, UTIs, any tearing, these are treatable medical issues. All right? And silence around this keeps people suffering unnecessarily. Looking at your pelvic floor. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, do you go to the bathroom after you have sexual intercourse? UTIs are not going to be solved by cranberry juice. Okay. There are a lot of things that are happening that's also going to be impacting some of the things that we love, like sex. I love it. I still have it. I'm not to the extent of these symptoms, but I know there are times where, for me or for many women, it's just a matter of lubrication. But again, if it's a little bit deeper, you have to scream until you get the answers that you are seeking. Number 3. Oh, we're counting down to the last 3 ones. Perimenopause can wreck sleep before hot flashes ever show up. Yes. Doctors will look for night sweats. Meanwhile, you're lying awake at 3 a.m. You're wired, exhausted, and angry at the ceiling because your progesterone drops early. Your cortisol is spiking. And sleep disruption is often the first symptom of perimenopause, but not the last. Absolutely. For many women I know, myself included, is that I would wake up 3 a.m, bang. Don't even know what's going on. Why am I not getting back to sleep? It was the weirdest thing ever because I crave my sleep and I love it. But when I was about 45, 47 years old, that's when the sleep thing started becoming problematic. And for that, I would use melatonin. Until that didn't work anymore, I would use sprays, pillow mist sprays, blah, blah, blah. My doctor really loves giving me sleeping pills, which I said absolutely not. So I started smoking weed before I go to bed. Yep, I have this in my previous episode of Cats, Cannabis, and Perimenopause if you're interested in how I use it for my symptoms and how to handle myself during this phase. Number 2, you don't have to wait until you reach menopause to get help. This one makes me feral. When doctors say, "You're not menopausal yet, come back to me when it gets worse." Are you kidding me? By that time, some people will make some drastic decisions that they may not even be aware that it's actually hurting them. So why wait until someone is miserable enough to qualify for care? Perimenopause deserves treatment. Support doesn't require suffering first. All right? Okay, everybody. And for the number 1 question or situation is, doctors aren't taught enough about menopause, and that's not your fault. This is a big one because most medical training includes minimal menopause education, outdated information, especially about HRT and hormone fear, and there's almost no discussion of the quality of life when you're going through this change. So when care feels dismissive, it's systemic, it's not personal. There is something wrong with the system. There is something wrong with governments only spending money on male health and not female health. And I'm going to do a podcast next year, next year being, in a week, to talk about my personal take on this, because it has a lot to do around men, a lot to do around pharma, a lot to do about government. So that's really something I will take to us in the new year. But in the meantime, you're allowed to question. You're allowed to advocate for yourself. And guess what? You're allowed to fire your doctor and to receive better care. If this episode made you irate or angry, good. Because angry or anger means something clicked with you. It means you realized you weren't dramatic. You weren't being weak. You weren't bad at coping. You were navigating a transition without a map and being blamed for getting lost. So here's what I want to take with you today. You are allowed to ask better questions. You are allowed to demand better answers. I'll repeat that last one. You are allowed to demand better answers. And you are allowed to stop shrinking your symptoms to make other people comfortable. Tell them exactly how you're feeling, all the way down to every cell in your body, what it's going through. Because perimenopause is not a side note. It's not a punchline. It's not just something, you're just going to power through this. Are you kidding me? If I were to power through this without any knowledge or without any HRT or without any help, you can damn well know I would be 6 feet under. But this is what the pause. And we're not done talking about this. Not even close. So to my lovely listeners, thank you so much for listening to part 1 of this podcast. Stay with me because I'm going to now talk about the top 10 questions that have been compiled and that drive me nuts in terms of why people are still asking these questions. So hopefully you guys will stay on, grab your friends, and I'll be back in just a second.